We had a Batman that was actually pretty good, a great Alfred, a pretty mediocre Robin, and a Scarecrow that maybe tried just a bit too much in the wrong areas. We only have one figure left for Wave 1. Please, oh Mr. Victor Freeze, show me that this line is actually worth investing in. Also, I suppose the Condiment King could do the same thing. We'll review him after Mr. Freeze. Color me impressed. This is a good Mr. Freeze. This is a very good Mr. Freeze. Let's just look at a couple of these things, right? So, first off, dome comes off. Small thing, but that's nice. The head sculpt. They captured this design perfectly. That is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Mr. Freeze. I'm going to keep it off for now, just so I can show off articulation in a minute. But know that it does click on very well. Listen to this. See, there's a good pop there, a good snap. Now, that is going to be a friction joint, but, just be aware of that. Now, the shoulders, universal. That doesn't really impair it all that much. I honestly thought there wasn't going to be any elbows on this figure, but no, they're underneath the coils. So you do get a decent elbow, not quite 45 degrees, but solid for what the design is. You have a universal at the wrist. You have nothing in the waist, but you got the big belly button there, that makes sense. The DC Universe Classics hips, some of my favorite hips in action figures, always look great. You have a very deep knee. Coming down to the boot, you do have a rotation, and no rocker, but you do have forward and back, and there's a good click to it, too. You also have, of course, his freeze gun. Very simple little accessory, but it does work, and you also have his tank on the back. Now, the tank, never mind, it does come off. So, yeah. But personally, I'm going to keep it right back in there. And then the gun, you do have to kind of wrestle into the hand, but it will stay there. He has an iron grip on that thing. The shell shading on this figure. Of course, as soon as I say he'll keep a grip on it. The joy of reviewing. Where literally, every time you say something, the figure will do its best to show the exact opposite. So, the cell shading on this figure is actually really well done. Nothing on his face, which is great. It's just kept to the costume, and it helps give what could be a rather flat design, going from 2D to 3D, a little bit more pump. You got a little bit of kind of shading on the arms. You have a good reflection coming down the torso. Very simple here on the legs. It's decent. It's solid, and that helps that you have a big ball joint at the base of the neck, allow you to get a lot of range and a lot of expression out of this very neutral Mr. Freeze face. Get the helmet back on. And yeah, I don't know where people put this Mr. Freeze design in the pantheon of Mr. Freeze designs. Well, I know as a character, everything you like about Mr. Freeze came from the animated series. Like, literally just everything you could possibly like. And I think that's why they went the extra mile. Look at all these hand options. So outside of the ones you get that are just on the figure to hold the gun, right? Closed fists. Okay, that's pretty good. You have kind of more like crazy hands, like he's pulling at his own hair. Okay. A different type of closed grip. Why? And then more just gestural, like, I've come to bargain, Batman. Like, okay, again, fine. You know what I would have really liked? Hear me out, right? Give me this hand, and none of the other hands, just the hands that we have on the figure. Give me the snow globe. Give me the snow globe that he's holding, and he's set in his cell as he's crying. That would have been a amazing accessory, and really been just a cherry on the cap of this Mr. Freeze. But for what it is, this figure has a good bit of bulk to it. It looks great, it's painted well, it has a lot of hand options. This is the only one I can look at and say, like, I can see how that's worth $30. Like, the others, they all came with stuff, sure, but it wasn't anything more than you would get with normal McFarlane releases. They gave you, like, how many hands do you have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. They gave you 10 pairs of hands, plus a very big figure. Let's pull Alfred back in here. Like, Alfred is just under 6 inches. When you get to the top of the dome, Mr. Freeze is getting closer to 6.5. He's very wide, he's well painted, the articulation's clever and hidden in a lot of places. It's a good Mr. Freeze. And even better, since he's the last one I had to review, he's also going to be the last piece I needed for the Condiment King. This is pretty solid. This is a great figure. It has some issues, some just on mine, some in general, but we can actually have a look-see now and see, does this Build-A-Figure make the wave worth it? The very first thing I'd point out is this Condiment King looks great. Just a very great capture of this kind of weirdly overloved and also underloved figure character. For anyone who doesn't know, he was a one-episode character in Batman the Animated Series. Basically, there was a time where a lot of people in Gotham were being brainwashed and becoming super criminals. Condiment King was the first one he came across. Condiment King is exactly what you think. He's a dude who has a ketchup gun and a mustard gun, and yes, his toboggan up top is supposed to make his head look like a pickle. He is literally just a dude who shoots people with condiments. So you look at the figure, right? Head sculpt, perfect. I hate this. This ruins the head a little bit, but still, incredible head sculpt. So much character derived from this. So menacing, weirdly enough. You have the backpack. The straps are just a bit too big, but you could glue those down if you wanted to. You have the universal in the shoulder. You have a good ratcheted elbow. Universal at the wrist, and they go up and down as opposed to side, which I prefer because it lets you get some cooler poses with the guns. You also have a waist rotation, a universal at the hip, a double jointed knee, and a good ankle up and down. Here's my issue, right? On mine. I got a gimp hip. So this makes it really hard to actually balance him. I think that's just on mine, though. It's one of those unfortunate quality control things. If it wasn't for that, I'd have no major complaint of this Condiment King. I really love this figure. I wish I had a better hip. I have ways I can fix that, and I'll take care of it, but I hope that is not a thing that, like, every Condiment King has a bad hip. Because, in all honesty, this is the best figure in the wave. Like, it's weird. I think a Build-A-Figure should always feel like a reward for collecting an entire wave. Here, Condiment King in some ways feels like you get the entire wave and deal with some iffy figures so that you ultimately get an Alfred, a Mr. Freeze, and a Condiment King that are pretty friggin' great. Another thing I just need to point out, so the guns are actually attached by string, which means that once you get them in his hands, you can pose the guns, pose the arms, literally in any way you want. Like, if this had been a tube, this would have been just absolutely annoying. But instead, you get just another way to show just how expressive this figure is. And with that head up top, he is a very expressive figure. It's so weird. With the ups and downs of this wave, even considering the parts of these figures I don't like, seeing all of them together like this, I actually feel like it was worth the money. I really enjoy how these guys look as an ensemble. Now, if I were to rank these figures, right, it'd be Robin at the bottom, then Scarecrow, then honestly Batman, and then probably... Even though I was down him on my review, I think I'd actually put Alfred above Mr. Freeze. So Mr. Freeze in third, Alfred in second, Condiment King in first place. It's a case where these figures on their own may not be the best, but together they are perfect. And even on their own, there's so much about them that just perfectly convey who these characters are. We have never gotten a better Alfred head sculpt than that. I am just sticking to that. So, more or less on the back of Mr. Freeze and Condiment King really showing me the virtues of this line, I'd probably say I think they are worth it if you enjoy Batman the Animated Series, even though individually, just as figures, they would not be worth it. It's unfortunately a case where if you're all in, they're great. If you're going to try to cherry pick, unfortunately the one worth cherry picking is the Build-A-Figure. So keep all that in mind, but ultimately I will say, I want to see what Wave 2 gets us, because we're getting Riddler, we're getting Joker, we're getting Commissioner Gordon, we're getting Batman. Who knows, we might get another exclusive, because Alfred was an exclusive. So, I'm excited for that. I want to... Really? Really? I want to get all the core characters. I want Catwoman, I want Poison Ivy, I want Batgirl, I want Harley Quinn. Who else would we need? Two-Face, Clayface, Killer Croc. Oh, I'd even like some of the minor characters. Like, we got Condiment King, we're about to get Lockup. Get us Clock King. I would love a Clock King. So overall, good wave with problems.